saw a star in the east. We saw a star. We saw a star in the east. As we traveled through the desert, we saw a star in the east. We searched far and wide just to serve. As we traveled through the desert, we saw a star in the east. Let his will be done until kingdom come. We see a small barn, goats and sheep, far from what we expected to see, but I could feel heaven all around me. As we step in, we fall to our knees. Let his will be done until kingdom come. We see a small barn, goats and sheep. As we travel through the desert, we saw a star in the east.
So it's the night before my Giyur, my conversion to Judaism, and it is 11:26 right now, and I have my conversion tomorrow at 11 a.m. So I should probably get some sleep, but I'm just so full of nervous excitement. And yeah, it was just, it's also like just the timing is really crazy. Right now, of course, all the coronavirus craziness is going around, and I basically asked my rabbi I mean, a little bit independent of the virus and stuff, but I just really felt pulled, like this was finally time in my life that I really want to do this. It's actually been a 14-year-long journey for me, which is a whole crazy story, but in a nutshell, I just really didn't feel kind of welcome and ready to join the Jewish community for all this time, despite my, you know, absolute knowing that I wanted to convert. So yeah, anyway, so a long time pretty much went by, and my rabbi had sort of offered me the next steps back in, I think it was maybe around like September or so, but back in the fall. And it is now actually the 29th of Adar, meaning it's the very last day of the Adar, which is like the month of joy. So it was just perfect timing where basically I'd asked him if we could hopefully just get through my conversion before Pesach, because I really felt strongly that I should go through this, you know, before the holiday. And this was really my first year since Rosh Hashanah of this year, 5780, that I have been pretty strictly observant and trying to kind of honor all of the different holidays and such. But Pesach is just, you know, a little bit of a special one, and I really felt a strong pull to actually just make this happen now at this point in my life. So at the start of Adar, I had reached out and mentioned to him, like, I think I'm really ready to move forward with the process. And we'd kind of been back and forth about the timing. I was in Korea at the time as well. And that's when the virus was just kind of really getting pretty serious back, you know, in Korea. And it was actually the second country after China that was kind of, you know, just flaring up with the virus. So at that time, I decided to actually come home, even though I had extended my trip at one point, but I wanted to come home, and a large part of it was because I was getting very nervous about the virus spreading and the potential of me getting kind of stuck in Korea due to travel bans and not being able to convert before Pesach. So that was a big pull for me, and you know, so anyway, that's what we were kind of planning. And of course now the US is far worse in terms of the virus than is Korea, and a lot of the mikvot around all around, at least where I live, and certainly across the country, are starting to shut down. So I asked my rabbi, you know, either way, I wanted to get this done before Pesach, and he was definitely going to work with me to make that happen. But for a while, we were thinking that maybe I would kind of be stuck going to like a body of water, a natural body of water outside to actually do my ritual immersions for the process. So that was a little bit, you know, I was definitely going to bear it, of course, for my conversion. But of course, it certainly would have been pretty uncomfortable. And basically today, like I said, the last month of Adar, the month of joy, he calls me in and tells me that he reached out to one of the mikvahs in our area, and they were able to squeeze me in. So I am pretty psyched because, like I said, all of the different mikvot are closing down right now due to the virus, just for social social distancing and safety, of course. So I'm pretty psyched that I, had the opportunity to actually get into an actual like proper mikveh versus, having to find an outdoor situation. And of course, it's sort of concerns over modesty and things like that. It would have been a little bit tricky. So I'm sure we would have gotten it done either way, but even still, I just feel so relieved to kind of do it the, I don't know, I guess the more comfortable way, I guess. So I am really, really excited. So a few days ago, I had, or like more or less like almost a week ago or so, I think like 6 days ago, I got my essay questions for my rabbi, just, kind of part of the conversion process. And it was really fun for me to actually respond to those. Felt like I was kind of doing like a college essay or something, but I think I'll probably drop those and sort of post them for anybody who wants to see, because it's a really interesting process, going through conversion, of course, a huge, gigantic life event. I feel like the best thing I could kind of equate this to, I feel like this must be like what a bride feels like on the night before her wedding kind of thing. Like I am just like so full of emotion right now. Like I think there were like just a handful of times throughout the, last several hours that, since I found out. It's been like half a day since I found out. And I think there's just been many times where I've been just like completely teary-eyed and just super emotional and just so grateful to have reached this moment. And I just, I can't stress enough what a journey this has been. And of course it is for everybody who goes through this process, but it wasn't like I just took some Judaism 101 class and decided to go through with it. Like I said, it was a 14-year long process for me to get to this point where I felt like the timing was right in my life, where I felt like I was ready to accept the responsibility of accepting Torah mitzvot and actually really living Jewishly. So I'm so, just like I said, grateful to Hashem that I, have sort of made it this far. And I really hope things go smoothly tomorrow. And I'm also very grateful that my family has been like so completely supportive for, just throughout this whole process. It took them a while to kind of get used to it, I'm sure. But, after a decade plus, of course, they know that I'm very sincere about my Jewish journey and my identity now as a Jew. And it certainly hasn't meant that I've, peeled away from my Korean identity whatsoever. So I think they're, of course, happy about that as well. So like tomorrow I'm just going to go to the mikveh by myself. Of course, normally you're allowed to bring people to kind of, celebrate, the very special occasion with you. But in light of the whole virus stuff, of course, I want everybody to be nice and safe. And I think that's just kind of my preference as well. It's such an intimate moment, aside from the actual mikveh part, of course, you're just by yourself with a mikveh guide, but just the whole experience is just the most intimate thing for me. And I think I'm just kind of like, it's like, I know I'm gonna be like bawling my eyes out. And I just could just see, like, I think my style is a little bit more to keep it this like very sort of more private, intimate moment, but I'll certainly celebrate with them when I come home. And I'm actually just like slightly nervous right now because I am wrapping up my menstrual cycle right now. And, it could actually also be perfect timing because normally, one would go to the mikveh after the end of her cycle anyway. So I really think, I just feel like I just trust in divine timing so much. I really don't think it would be just kind of a fluke where suddenly in, in the midst of all of these mikvot closing down that I suddenly get this call today that I can actually go ahead and, use one tomorrow. I feel like that's just like, I don't know, I just really believe in divine timing. So I'm pretty confident that I have like 12 hours, basically 11 and a half hours until it happens. So I feel like I'm going to sort of wrap up my cycle by then, but of course there's always a chance that I won't. And then, hopefully, that doesn't happen. But if that does, of course, I'll have to delay my appointment, which I hope I can still keep. If not, it'll be just me and a natural body of water somewhere out over here in Massachusetts. So I hope I don't, it doesn't come to that, but I really have like a strong feeling it's going to happen tomorrow. So I'm excited and just nervously excited. And yeah, it feels like, I think a couple analogies, like as I was talking to my sister and brother-in-law about this today. I think like the best analogies are kind of like, I feel like on one hand, it's kind of like being a resident alien in a country and then finally getting your citizenship, meaning like, you know, resident aliens who have lived in America for like, you know, 10 plus years would very much feel like American, and yet the process of gaining citizenship is really more about legal recognition. And in that sense, I really very much view this process of going through conversion as just a validation in a legal and like halachic sense, rather than me suddenly turning into a Jew. I think really, you know, I think a lot about like this one like clip, this video I saw on YouTube of the Lubavitcher Rebbe, basically explaining that, you know, in Torah there's so many moments where one changes their legal status, like a slave to a free person, or he gave a few other examples, and then he explains, however, when in Torah, when you read about a convert, you talk about a convert who converts, meaning a convert was always Jewish. And I think I'm, you know, not being very eloquent about, you know, he wrote it, said it beautifully. I'll try to actually find the little video, maybe I'll drop in the description as well, but it's just the idea that, you know, a Jew is always a Jew, and, you know, conversion is really the process of affirming who you are at a spiritual level. It's your soul is Jewish, and yeah, so it's not that you're really changing subtly by immersing yourself in a body of water. That is really just the process of legally recognizing and affirming and making a public declaration that that you're Jewish all along, and that you are now committing to join the Jewish people in terms of, you know, honoring and observing Torah and mitzvot. So, you know, on one hand, like I said, it's kind of like that analogy of just gaining my like legal status. And then the funny thing is that like the other side of it, it almost feels, what I imagine is kind of like the experience that like a transgendered person goes through, where they, you know, like somebody who gets like gender reassignment surgery, and then suddenly they feel like, oh my gosh, this is who I always was. This is who I was born to be. And now I'm like affirming what I felt all along. So in that sense, I really feel like I'm going through that kind of transformation where, you know, and very similarly, so I also changed my name from Grace to Meorah. And, you know, so all of those sort of things really just feel reminiscent of what one might go through, you know, transitioning into a new gender. So it's just this really, you know, like both of those examples, those are huge, major life moments, and, you know, such exciting, you know, things to go through. And I'm just so excited that I'm going through this right now. And I feel like what a sort of, I don't know, heavy burden being lifted off me to just kind of like, and I feel like I'm kind of like coming out, I guess. It's like my coming out and my sort of stepping into who, you know, I just really felt like I was all these years. And I mean, for me, it really goes back all the way to childhood, always constantly, you know, questioning Jesus. Like that was kind of like that pit I had in my stomach of like, there's just something not, you know, right about this for me. And, you know, I just kind of kept pulling at that thread, and it essentially led me toward Judaism. So I feel like there was just something in me since I was a child, just knowing that this is really who I am. And it took me all sorts of sort of different, you know, like metamorphoses to get to the point where I felt like I understood, okay, that this was like my soul was Jewish. And I think not a lot of people sort of recognize that, even when they, you know, sort of think about converts and like that process of going through conversion. I think even, sadly, even many converts don't fully honor and recognize that this is an acknowledgement of your soul, and that there's something very deep, you know, not just, like I said, not just some Judaism 101 class and a dip in the mikveh. It's really something quite profound at the level of your soul. And you know, it's a great honor to be able to go through a process where you're really discovering and revealing something, you know, that deep within you. You know, there's certainly a lot of people who don't necessarily go through that process, maybe even in their entire lives, to really kind of go through that, you know, sense of self-discovery at, you know, such a deep spiritual level. So I've just been so grateful to go through that process. And, you know, it certainly was an uncomfortable one and a difficult one, but Baruch Hashem that I've gone through it, because I feel like a new woman already, and I'm certain that tomorrow I'll feel that even more so. So yeah, I just wanted to kind of capture this and just, you know, log it along my journey. And also very like interesting, not like ideal, but, you know, interesting in light of the times, is that my Beit Din will be done over Zoom, as is like the entire world just operating on Zoom right now. So, you know, I have kind of like a weird, like I have a little bit of a bias against sort of digital, you know, formats for certain things. Like I haven't been partaking in any sort of prayer type of, you know, services and such over Zoom. I know there's a lot of live streaming happening on Shabbat, which I personally don't, you know, subscribe to, but you know, I just think that, you know, digital media really takes away the sanctity of the moment. So I certainly wish I could have had my Beit Din in person live and, you know, just to connect face to face, you know, person to person throughout that process. But unfortunately, that's not available right now. So I'm just, you know, glad for a Beit Din to even be assembling at all. But yeah, it looks like it'll happen over Zoom. So I figured maybe it'll be, you know, I'm already, you know, on a digital sort of, you know, environment. So I figured maybe I will actually record that so you guys can actually see what that process looks like as well. Maybe something will at least come out of it that way. You guys can, you know, other people can sort of understand what that, you know, typically very intimate setting can be like. So I'm sure I will record a bit more tomorrow. I have a lot to prepare. I think you know, tomorrow morning I want to get up very early, make sure I kind of go through my entire Shacharit prayers, and I'm sure like it will be a very special session of prayer tomorrow morning, and I certainly want to leave myself enough time to do a good amount of hiborut before I go in, so that my head and my heart are just in the right place. I'm just kind of like pumped up for the big day. And yeah, I think that's it. And I have no idea if I will get any sleep because, like I said, I'm just full of nervous excitement. But yeah, I should probably get a little bit of rest because I want to be nice and sharp for the big day as well tomorrow. So anyway, I will check in with you guys later and hopefully continue this all along the you know, process I'll be going through. Like I said, hopefully tomorrow. Let's see if my body so allows it, but you know, hopefully it'll work out. And yeah, I'll see you guys in the morning. I have no idea how I'm going to sleep. There's like, it's a little after midnight and there's just like, there's no way I can fall asleep. I'm like way too excited. And I think I need to like make myself some sleepy tea or something. And I'm about to pop on a Tovia Singer Giyur because I love watching him. And I don't know, I'm just probably gonna watch like a bunch of different Giyurs and hopefully try to fall asleep. But I don't know how it's gonna be possible. I'm like, I feel like I don't know, I was about to say a kid before Christmas, but somehow that feels like an inappropriate analogy. But yeah, I don't know, bride on her wedding day, whatever. But I am like way too like excited right now. So hopefully I'll be able to fall asleep, but it is a little after midnight and it doesn't look like it's gonna be anytime soon because I'm full of energy. The tour of the mikveh area. It's just me and the mikveh guide, so it's nice and private here, especially today. And I'm just trying to log on right now to get onto my Zoom conference to have my Beit Din. I'm starting to feel really nervous. I feel like I'm prepping for like the most intense Jewish trivia, which I hope it won't be like that, but I'm pretty nervous about what they'll actually ask me, which we will see. Okay, I'm connecting now. I have my nice Yasher Koach hoodie on today. So I guess I'm approved. It's my final moments as a non-halachic Jew, and I'm just going to take like a few moments just to kind of calm down a little bit. I'm really excited and very emotional, and just kind of prep myself, rinse off, and brush my teeth and all that kind of stuff. So I'm so excited right now, and I can't believe I made it to this point after so long, and I'm really excited. So I will check in with you guys afterwards as well.
Mazel tov, mazel tov.
I know that they watching me, trying to figure me out. Like, what's my life like? Am I committed, devout? Perception is relying on what you trained your sight like. So what you see is whatever gets permitted by your eyes, right? I'm guessing that.
Well, I did it. It's official. I was there for like almost 2 hours basically. It's 12:38 now. I went in around like 10:50, I want to say. I am now officially part of Am Yisrael, and I'm ecstatic, I'm psyched, and it's been a very emotional 2 hours. It was really fun, actually. I really enjoyed the Beit Din. They asked me some really exciting questions, the kind of stuff I just love to talk about. I recorded some of it, but I'm not sure that the audio actually worked, so I will see how much I can actually add to it. But it was really fun. They asked me a lot about sort of the essay questions that I wrote. We talked a lot about Jewish culture and identity, which were, you know, big major parts of my personal Jewish journey, and talking about prayer, because I mentioned a lot about sort of the practice of prayer in my life, and hitbodedut versus the liturgical prayer, and kind of how to synthesize the two. And we also talked about why I chose my Jewish community that I am part of right now, despite it not necessarily being Orthodox, even though I'm like Orthoprax. So we talked about a lot of interesting things, and I'm also noticing this really interesting ephemeral light, which I actually tried to get rid of it, but this glare is not going away. But it is so so perfect right now, because I feel like a big burst of light, and my Hebrew name, my actual legal name, is actually Meorah, so it feels perfectly suitable for the moment. But the mikveh experience itself was really beautiful, of course. I'm really glad I got to have this experience here. It's my Chaim in Newton, and I've heard about, you know, obviously every mikveh is a little bit different, but this is like a pretty nice one. The facilities are really clean and beautiful, and the mikveh itself was just really, the water was perfect. It was really nice, and my mikveh guide was just, you know, a sweet, lovely lady. So I felt totally comfortable all the way through, and I think it was really nice because, you know, in light of coronavirus stuff, I was actually like, me and her, we were the only ones actually in the entire building, so it was like super intimate, which I really enjoyed as well. So the whole thing was just, I mean, I don't know if I had necessarily certain expectations. I think the only expectation I really had was that I would be like bawling my eyes out, which I have to say I'm surprised. I mean, I cried a few times. I cried a few times, definitely in that prep room, you know, just kind of like the way Jill said it. She was just like, you know, these are your last moments as a non-Jew, so just kind of, you know, take in the moment kind of thing. And you know, I just, you know, that kind of hit me a lot, and you know, I just knew that that was like my quiet moment before I would actually immerse into the waters, and I felt really just so grateful, and I just, you know, broke down a little bit in there. And I also kind of, you know, I felt like a big girl. Like, I felt like, you know, this is what Jewish women do. Like, when I get married, you know, hopefully someday soon, eventually when I get married, you know, I plan to observe the, you know, Nida, and actually, you know, go to mikvah monthly and all that. So it was interesting just feeling like this is what grown Jewish women, married women do, and that the next time I would be coming to a mikvah would be when I'm a married woman as well. So that was kind of a grown-up moment, I guess, for me, and it felt really cool to just kind of be part of that that culture, that heritage, that yeah, that tradition that Jewish women have partaken in for so long. That being said, it was interesting for me because of the blend of technology and this like ancient ritual of ours, to kind of have, like, we were on Zoom first for the Beit Din part, which that was fine. Like, it was okay. Obviously I would have preferred to been face to face. That would have been, you know, extra special, but you know, in light of the coronavirus and all that stuff, of course we had to be careful. So that was okay, but then something weird happened to the Zoom like line. So we eventually switched over to like the phone, but there was like a big gap of like time. We were trying to kind of figure it out. So it was kind of a little bit of awkward waiting time while I was in like the actual mikveh room, waiting for everyone to kind of get conferenced in. So that was a little bit funky, but it was, you know, it all worked out. And so, you know, of course I'm glad that it was all okay, and hopefully, you know, like this is all kosher and everything, of course, as well, given the light of the circumstances too. It was, you know, the best way we could do it, but, you know, everyone was there and my documents will be properly signed and everything like that. So, and then like toward the end, when I had to read this like declaration of just kind of affirming my faith, affirming my values, and really like declaring that I'm leaving behind my old faith, which I left behind quite a long time ago. But at that part, like, I don't know, if I were alone, I would have totally bawled my eyes out. Like, I got definitely emotional as I started reading it, and then I was just filled with a lot of nerves. Like, I misread a few sections, and just, you know, like, I was just a little bit nervous at that point, just out of just all the energy, just a lot of raw energy right now. And that's it. And I think I sort of expected this a little bit, but I think it, like, the actual dip in the mikveh part, it didn't feel like this like born again moment per se. I didn't feel like any different, to be honest. You know, coming out of the waters, like, I was kind of hoping for this, like, you know, big flash of light and some, like, you know, thunder crashing, like, amazing, you know, special spiritual feeling. But it, you know, it was calm and it was beautiful, but it just felt very natural. It felt very comfortable. It didn't feel like anything life-altering per se. Not that this wasn't, it certainly was, because I understand that, like, at a spiritual level that, you know, I can't even perceive, I know that this is a huge shift for me. So I just, you know, not to minimize anything that just happened, but at the end of the day, I was always Jewish. I was Jewish all along. I was born Jewish. And so I think that's something that, you know, more people need to sort of appreciate and understand, that, you know, conversion to Judaism and, you know, a dip in the mikveh, getting immersed, all that stuff, that's not you changing who you are, it's you affirming who you always were. So that's what today totally felt like. It felt absolutely natural. It felt like, you know, just another day in the Jewish life. But I'm excited just to have my halachic status to be legally recognized, and God willing to be able to have children someday, and, you know, to have Jewish children as well. So, you know, those are all very, of course, very important things. And like, even for example, like during like Simchat Torah, like, I didn't actually hold the Torah because I didn't feel, you know, quite right about doing that as a non, you know, halachic Jew. So there's certain things that will definitely, you know, change about the way that, you know, I'm practicing Judaism in terms of what I feel like I can sort of partake in or not. But that was actually one of the questions, because my shul is egalitarian. It's traditionally egalitarian, and I'm a little bit more on the conservative side, I'd say, or the more orthodox side rather. And so they kind of asked about how I would feel, or like how I feel about women partaking in certain religious roles. And you know, I just honestly answered, I'm still kind of learning about this. I'm still trying to kind of decide where I stand. But I think a lot of things that my shul, you know, happens to allow women to do, I probably won't partake in. So, you know, even though I have my, you know, legal status, and while my community may allow me to do things like, you know, read from the Torah and things like that, there's certain things I may still abstain from, even though I do have my halachic status. So those are still things I'm shaking out, but I'm glad to just be legally recognized and just to be like an official part of Am Yisrael. And you know, I've called myself a Jew now for quite a while, but it just feels like I can say so with all the more, you know, just more integrity, I guess. Not that there was anything wrong with me saying it before, because like I said, I was always a Jew, but you know, it has a different different level of meaning, I guess, at this point. So I am very excited, and I also had a really beautiful moment of prayer just, you know, on my way here, just praying to Hashem about, you know, everything that sort of led me up to this moment, asking him to help me, just to kind of guide me through this process. And it all went so well, so I'm really, really excited. And I got this cute little, they gave me a little welcome, wishing you a sweet Jewish life, a little honey stick. So I'll enjoy this little treat. And that's it, I guess. I guess it's official. It feels like almost anticlimactic after 14 dang years of waiting. That was quite a while. I wish I could go back to 18-year-old Grace and you know, tell her, don't you wait, like, or don't you worry, it's gonna happen. You just have to wait a very, very long time. But you know, everything is perfectly in divine timing. There's a season for everything, and it's super cool too that I got to have this happen on Rosh Chodesh. It's the 1st of Nisan, which is the month of mercy, and I don't know, I just feel like it's so apt. And I'm so excited too that today is Thursday, and it's really cool that I get to have my first Shabbat as a halachic Jew. So I'm still living away from my community. I don't have a shul nearby, so I am just having Shabbats at home with my family, but you know, I just daven at home and things like that. But yeah, I'm sure it'll have like just an extra sweetness this time, and you know, every time moving forward, it'll be just a little bit something different than what I've experienced before. So I feel like I've sort of talked it out enough now. I should probably get kind of headed home, but I think I'll probably kind of maybe I'll stop somewhere and daven a little bit more, because I feel really, really grateful to have reached this moment, and I'm just so excited and honored, and I promise to everyone in Am Yisrael that I will do my best job to do everyone proud. And I'm sure that there's just so much ahead of me, so much responsibility in all of this, and I feel so ready to accept it. I feel so ready to move forward, and this is like the first day of my new life. And yeah, that's basically it. I'm gonna drop my conversion essay responses in this video, in case, like, on my blog, so in case anybody wants to see. Hopefully it will kind of give you guys a little bit of a glimpse into this process of conversion, and you know, maybe guide some people along the way who are considering conversion themselves. But other than that, it's a little bit my own personal documentation, just to keep for myself and my own records, so that my family can see what kind of process that I went through, my future family that I will raise someday, and hopefully it will make them proud. Okay, I think that's everything I have to say now. So thank you for joining me on this very special day, and Shalom Aleichem.
I know that they watching me, trying to figure me out. Like, what's my life like? Am I committed, devout? Perception is relying on what you trained your sight like. So what you see is whatever gets permitted by your eyes, right? I'm guessing that it's okay if they follow me, as long as they know that the praise is never no, not to me. No, not to be condescending. My philosophy is artistry presented should never be